All for Ukraine podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Henrik Sternberg, and this is Economy of Trust podcast. Welcome back. Today's topic is hidden side of Ukraine. It is amazing to me that a country that we all know now and everybody in the world knows now, unfortunately due to the wrong reasons, has enormous hidden components to the whole economy, and obviously very as well as many hidden assets as we learned with respect to natural resources as well. But Ukraine is a country rich of history and culture, harbors many hidden facets that often escape a spotlight. And from its complex economic landscape to lesser known cultural and historical sites, Ukraine represents one of those opportunities for everyone, irrespective of your interests. But let me start today with a topic that is on everybody's mind: shadow economy of Ukraine. And shadow economy of Ukraine is obviously talked about for a long time. For many, it is started actually historically back in Soviet times because there was a lot of under, so to speak, gray area where majority of people were trying to make money without government knowing about it. And this is how shadow economy started in Soviet times in Ukraine. And I personally was a part of it because at some point my uncle in Kyiv, where I was born, was really focused on producing leather goods for women, belts and different hair accessories. And I learned a lot when I was 16, 17, 18 on the streets of Ukraine of how that all of that worked, which is, believe it or not, is invaluable experience today, dealing with individuals who are currently my age, who went through all of that themselves during that time. And unfortunately, that culture, the street culture, the shadow economy culture, still very, very present in Ukraine. As of 2018, the shadow economy Ukraine was estimated to be approximately 38.3% of GDP. Think about that number, 38.3% of GDP. That means that the Ukrainian economy today is not $150 billion, but roughly 38% bigger, because obviously shadow economy activity never being calculated overall official GDP. So there's also a very big issue of unreported salaries, envelope wages. And you also will see that pretty much across most of the businesses. Luckily, this is going away, and this is very, very important component, that the envelope salaries go away, but they still happen on a regular basis in Ukraine today. And that's something that also contributes to the fact that that fact is of those envelope wages going away really is driven by the fact that cash is going away from the circulation, and it's much easier to track the different types of money electronically today. So the manufacturing sector had the strong highest level of shadow activity in 2018, roughly 54% of that sector. So that's obviously also very important, because in manufacturing, due to its nature, you can really, figure out a way of producing on the side, so to speak. And basically, it also allows for not only envelope wages, because you're selling a product on the side, it also reduces obviously tax income for the government at all levels, and that's not good for anyone long term. Although immediately, obviously, the people who are using these practices today take advantage of it short term. But hopefully, after the war have changed everything, and I believe post-war there will be tremendous changes to the tax laws of Ukraine, to the laws of all different types of employment laws, as well as many others that will be changed post-war in order to drive the new type of economy, an economy that is driven on transparency. And this is hence our name, Economy of Trust. We are promoting the same thing. We believe digitalization technology will be a big, big whip for the corruption in Ukraine. So what are the causes? Obviously, the causes are the numerous causes. As I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest causes is historic cause. And also, as we see demographic change, people who lived in Soviet unions, people who worked in Soviet unions are demographically, getting away from their golden, employment years and golden business years into the golden retirement, right? So the causes are many but one of them was always the tax burden. Right now, if I'm a business owner, I have to pay a total of 42% in taxes every time I do a payroll. Now, this is very high because in Ukraine, compared to America, where I had a lot of years experience in business, in Ukraine, majority of employers are paying their employees' taxes. So in addition to paying 19.5% corporate tax, I have to pay something around 20% for my employees, and a couple points on for the military taxes, as well as taxes related to Social Security and the like. So corruption and weak rule of law, it's obviously one of the biggest reasons for shadow economy, because it is much easier and cheaper, believe it or not. There were many cases in Ukraine, there were people laughing when a person stole, I don't know, I believe there was still $100 million overall that was found, and had to pay $2 million to get out of jail, right? So by bribing the judges with big amounts, it's actually cost of doing business for some of them. At least it was in the past. Right now, we see Ukrainian authorities are very much cramping down on all of those, let's call them inefficiencies in Ukrainian law, and they get rid of judges, including the highest office of the law in Ukraine, Supreme Court. There was a big case about the chairman of the court who was found having a big cash, I believe it was $3 million in cash in his office. Yes, this is real Ukraine. It does happen, and hopefully it will be happening less and less. So regulatory inefficiency is also another big cause. Regulatory inefficiencies is really tough because government sometimes steps on their own kind of feet, right? By not providing the laws that are clear, that is understood, that is systematic, and it's also systematically enforced, right? And most importantly, I believe one of the reasons it's happening all over is because there's a very low trust in the central government institutions. And that's something that needs to be changed for the long-term success of Ukraine. So basically, if you look at the challenges and all that, the challenges of hidden economy in Ukraine is because it exists in every country, let's be honest, in different percentages, but it does exist in America, in Europe, everywhere. But in Ukraine, it's extraordinarily high because of the lack and issues causes we just talked about, but it's very difficult to obviously accurately measure due to hidden nature of that economy. And I believe that if it is 38%, obviously I don't know exactly what the number is, and I don't think anybody does, but that 38% can be converted into a productive component of the economy. And as people realize there's going to be more risk, and I hope the government will really put the right laws around this going forward in order to make sure that for people who are taking this shortcut for short-term gain are actually now thinking very differently, that it does not cost, it's basically going to cost me much more to do this in the wrong way than to do it in the right way. And in the right way, not only I can sleep well at night, but I also hopefully can actually have a big opportunity than in the shadow economy. So when Ukraine reaches that point of where business people, entrepreneurs see that doing the thing the right way will give them more return on their investment, on their capital, on their time, right, on their effort. With less headache or less future consequences, negative consequences, they all will shift there. This is what market economy does. And that's one of the biggest reasons, to summarize it all. The centrally planned economy as a whole is basically, think about it as a very fertile ground for shadow economy to exist, because centrally planned economy generally is very, very bureaucratic, which allows for all those shadow streams of income to be generated throughout. Now, let's move on to the more positive side of Ukraine. We're talking about hidden cultural gems. I've been traveling throughout Ukraine during the war for many, many different cities. And what I realized, what's amazing to me, is how little the outside world knows about Ukraine and what it has to offer. On the cultural side, you talk about Ledovsky Rock Monastery, for example, Khortytsa Island. Obviously, there's a gazillion of other locations throughout Ukraine. Active Canyon, for example, Potoki Palace in Dashiv, and Vitaly Palace as well. All of those places are still there. They're unbelievably beautiful. And I built to Khortytsa Island. And I've seen all those boats that were built, God knows when. The history of it is truly amazing. And Ukraine Ukraine has such a big opportunity to share that with the world. But in addition to this cultural, as well as religious, right? The many religions in Ukraine, there's a lot of religious sites to visit as well. And Ukraine makes significant contributions also to one thing we talk about today. So Ukraine has historically have contributed tremendous amount of technological innovation into the global world economy. And I want to start with today. Think about what the country has done during the war and with the drone industry, drone technology. It is absolutely mind-boggling that the country that has no fleet has defeated a fleet of what used to be called one of the best, second best, I believe, Russian fleet in Black Sea. It's gone. Think about what Ukraine is doing to Russian forces now by changing the game of the war. I believe all of the gazillions of dollars has been invested into the all technology like tanks and all different big machinery is no longer as viable as it used to be because of the drone. And Ukraine will be the leader of that technology, of that industry throughout post-war, throughout the world. But I want to give you a couple of really big, interesting components before we go today. So if you look at history, right, in this going back in Soviet times. So for example, continuous casting of steel was developed by Ukrainian metallurgist Yevgeny Paton in 1950s. He actually died. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to meet him. I was supposed to meet him. We planned to meet him, and he unfortunately passed away several years ago at a very young age. I believe it was 103 when he passed away. I might be wrong on that. But he also have invented electrical welding. The bridge of Paton in Ukraine, which still stands, it's needs repairs. But man, that is, as everybody talks about, that was a breakthrough for the industry of welding as a whole. That technology pioneered by him. Obviously, you understand that artificial diamond production also was started in Ukraine and was developed by scientists in the Institute for Super Hard Materials in Kyiv in 1960s. Antonov Aircraft. Antonov Design Bureau in Kyiv created numerous innovative aircraft designs, including the world's largest cargo plane, which was destroyed at the start of the war in Gostomy, and I was in Kyiv at the time. It's a huge loss for the world, that type of aviation. That plane cost $1 billion to make, right? That Maria plane. And Antonov wing design, even by Boeing, was admitted to be one of the best and ever invented. So cybernetics is computer science. Obviously, we know Ukraine is a big IT company, but Viktor Glushkov made significant contributions to computer science and cybernetics in 1960s and 70s. Gas turbine locomotive, I didn't even know that, developed in Kharkiv in 1950s. These were among the first of their kind in the world. Hydroelectric power station automation. Ukrainian engineers pioneered automated control system in hydroelectric power stations in 1950s. Everybody's using this around the world, that technology, right? Rocket and space technology, obviously, it is Sikorsky and so many other things that the Ukrainians have invented. We're talking about today, Grammarly, right? WhatsApp was started by the guy who was born in Odessa, and so on. So think about Sergei Korolev, who is actually, believe it or not, they call him, father of cosmonautics, right? In Soviet Union, he was always based in Moscow, but he's from Ukraine, right? Igor Sikorsky created the first helicopter, and Sikorsky Kyiv Polytechnic Institute has a museum where you can see all of those things in Kyiv. And I was there, it's a phenomenal institution. It should be on the level with MIT in Boston, but unfortunately, it's in a very, let's say, difficult state at the moment. So basically, you look at so many different things that you have now in medicine and in many other areas of the world. So to summarize today, hidden side of Ukraine, shadow economy. We are speaking about the fact that majority of Ukrainians don't know what Ukraine has. So for us, as part of our mission for Economy of Trust, is to let the world know everything Ukraine has to offer. Yes, there's components like shadow economy, but there are also brilliant people in Ukraine. And I believe today we are at the tipping point of unleashing all of that knowledge, all of that potential that Ukraine has today in a transparent way without shadow economy. I hope that's the future for Ukraine. Till next time, my name is Henry Sternberg. Please share this. I hope you're interested in Ukrainian economy and its future, and I hope you'll join our podcast. And till next time, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.